How's it going, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to be responding to some of the comments that I got on a recent video entitled Longevity, the Hard Science on Nutrition, Exercise, Supplements, and Longevity Research. Okay. So I got a couple comments. Some of them sound like they didn't actually watch the video and just made wrong assumptions about what I was going to say or something, and then wrote comments that actually kind of sound irrelevant to the points I made in the video. However, I appreciate your feedback and comments nonetheless, so we're going to be addressing these. So the first comment, I don't know how I would describe my feelings about it. But I had asked some questions to try to dive deeper, and they never responded. It's a little bit, I don't know, bothersome just because of the statement that they made. It's like, I would like to hear your logic behind it. But this is often the case with people who hold beliefs without actually reflecting on the rationale. You know, people who assume things or think things or want something to be true, and they'll just make statements on my videos. And then when just asking, well, what evidence are you using to base that on? What is your reasoning, your logic, etc.? What is the thought process that led you to that belief? Oftentimes, they don't have one, unfortunately. And I think you should. All right, it's very important if you care about your health, and you're just listening to these health gurus and stuff on YouTube, and you don't have a really good kind of logical case behind how you came to that, you're setting yourself up for some potential negative outcomes down the road. Okay, so it's important to really reflect on your beliefs surrounding health so that you can avoid some easily avoidable negative health outcomes. Okay, let's get into this, right? So I got a comment from this commenter named Ken Wang, and it's not their real name. This person has been subscribed to my channel for a while, and they went by a variety of other previous names in the past. So I know this isn't their actual name. Anyway, their comment reads, to live past 100, you would have to be on a plant-based diet for sure. There's no way you can live past 100 on fatty meat. I never claimed you had to eat fatty meat. Never. Never even, I don't think I claimed you had to eat anything to live past 100. Especially not fatty meat. And then they said, you would be surprised how little food we need to eat daily. I can go for days on only beans and fruit. Okay, so that comment is just doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's kind of funny in a way, and it sounds like the only reasoning they gave me for why they feel that way is based on a logical fallacy. Okay, so to live past 100, you would have to be on a plant-based diet for sure. Because I can go for days eating only beans and fruit, and apparently it's almost like they're inferring living your entire life eating only beans and fruit and eating very, very little food is a way to live past 100. That doesn't make sense. It's not supported by the research. Well, on the hard research that actually shows hard endpoints in human experiences. Unless you're talking about the mechanistic research and the research done on rat experiments where, starving the rats or whatever somehow improves their lifespan. There's so many problems with that. But anyway, so my reply was, first of all, okay, so you're making an absolutist statement. To live past 100, you would have to be on a plant-based diet for sure. So it's like they're certain. Okay, bold claims require extraordinary evidence. What is the reasoning behind your claim that to live past 100, you need to be on a plant-based diet? For sure. What is your logic? What are the mechanisms that you suspect? What are the studies and the evidence that you're basing it upon? Can you even link me a book to the guru that you heard that from, you know? Um, Furthermore, have you even watched my video? Or, yeah, did you watch this video? Because in this video, I never said fatty meat. I said, basically, I named the what the research says about the leading causes of death that usually prevent people from living to even reach the age of 80, you know? Like, in order to live to 65, you got to prevent diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. To live to 80 and 90, you've got to prevent tragic falls, obesity, and just weighing such a high amount of body weight that you have trouble being self-sufficient and getting around your environment, going to the store and grocery store, and taking care of yourself, Past the age of 65, leading cause of death is a lack of strength, low bone mineral density, and complications from being hospitalized from falling and breaking your hip. So to avoid all, and then on top of that, the factors most commonly associated with living past the age of 80 really are strength, muscle tone, grip strength, bone mineral density, and things like that. So there's a pretty strong connection between basically things that can be improved through strength training, protein intake, adequate nourishment and calories and calcium, and just being a robust human being. And I did mention hormesis in the video and things like that later on. So then I asked them, have you even watched any interviews with super centenarians? The vast majority of centenarians, if you watch the video interviews, if you read the text interviews published in newspapers, most super centenarians never mention a plant-based diet. They're almost never consuming a vegetarian or a vegan diet, or going out of their way to consume extra greens or beans. A lot of them are not health conscious whatsoever. And that's important. So because there's certain things that have been validated by the research that are not dependent upon how obsessed you are with living to an old age. You can eat ice cream, you can eat pasta, whatever crazy things that people think are unhealthy. And you can have a diet completely devoid of green vegetables. However, if you have strong bones, strong muscle tone, you're able to take care of yourself as you age, and you don't have any kind of metabolic diseases that would have killed you off beforehand, it doesn't matter how plant-based you are. What matters is your organs have not failed you from chronic abuse from unhealthy foods that I mentioned in that video before. And there's a wide variety of diets that these super centenarians follow, and they all could fall in alignment with what the research says about what makes you live long anyway. Basically, muscle strength, a high work capacity. Like, are you still gardening and stuff into your age 100? Doing the things that keep you robust and active. None of that has anything to do with a plant-based diet or a keto diet or fatty meat. Literally, it's bone mineral density, muscle tone, grip strength, and a lack of metabolic disease. So anyway, yeah, the vast majority of these centenarians don't mention plant-based diet. And a lot of them pretty commonly mention some odd animal foods that they suspect might be contributing to their longevity. So it's not that it causes it. I'm not saying but you'll hear them like 4 ounces of chopped meat a day. I've heard one lady say. I heard another one say 3 raw egg yolks and 5 whole eggs a day, or something like that. You'll often hear them. I heard another one say, a shot of Jack, or or my ice cream every night, or whatever. Like, you'll hear people say some weird stuff. But as far as the plant-based comment is concerned, none of them are plant-based, except for one that claimed they ate like a raw vegan diet or something like that, which is suspect to me. A lot of them mention an odd animal food that they believe is, what they thought was contributing to their long health. So, Yeah. You know, we got to remember these people are from a different generation than the plant-based dogma kind of came out of. A lot of them believed that, like, meat, it was healthy back in the day, too. Unless you're Jack LaLanne, which is a whole nother story. Jack LaLanne was not technically plant-based. He tried to be for a lot of his life, but he ate a different kind of variety of diets for a lot of his life. But he mostly, I mean, he ate a protein-centric, highly active, strength training type lifestyle and lived to be 96, and his wife as well. So I think that's a good way to kind of go. And if it wasn't for pneumonia, Jack LaLanne would still be alive to this day. But he was way more plant-based than what I'm suggesting. So yeah, I was like, did you even watch this video? I didn't. I didn't say a plant-based diet was bad. I didn't say to eat fatty meat. All I did in this video was discuss the most common causes of death before and after the age of 65, and the science that we actually have that's relevant to hard health outcomes in humans with a high magnitude of effect, surrounding how to prevent these leading causes of death that prevents people from living long, healthy lives using nutrition and exercise. And also, it's completely irrelevant how long you can go on eating beans and fruit. Like, I just think that's hilarious. He's like, yeah, you have to be plant-based to live past 100. You know, fatty meat's not the way to go. You would be surprised how little food I can eat. I can only eat beans and fruit for a lot of days. What the fuck kind of logic is that? My response is like, it's completely irrelevant how long you can go eating only beans and fruit. If you're losing bone mineral density over the years, which promotes the leading cause of death in the elderly, you're going to probably break your hip or something like that. And it doesn't matter like how long you can only eat beans for, because you're not addressing the main things that kill people in the first place. Now, I'll tell you, you will probably never experience type 2 diabetes, heart disease, probably not cancer either, if all you're eating is beans and fruit. However, your bones are most certainly going to deteriorate over time because you're not giving them the building blocks in which they're built from. Your energy is probably going to be pretty low eating such a restrictive diet to where you're not going to be able to do weight-bearing exercises or activities that stimulate bone growth. I don't see someone eating that kind of diet being robust past the age of 65, especially if they've been eating that diet for 30 years before then. Now, this person specifically is inferring that they're going to be like limiting their food intake and only eating beans and fruit. So I'm not telling people, look, if you're vegan and you're eating a protein-centric diet from like, I don't know, beans and shit like that, and you're doing weight training, I'm not saying that they can't live past 100. I'm just saying if your whole philosophy on living an old, healthy life, like a long, healthy life, is to restrict your food and your calorie intake and only eat beans and fruit and see how long you can go on that, good luck. Like, really good luck. But it does not seem rational at all. Like, even if, like, look, if you really believe that a plant-based diet is your longevity thing, and there's some, that's not a bad, that's not, I don't think that's a bad idea per se, plant-based, but like, if you're not nourishing yourself adequately, no matter what diet you freaking follow, how robust will you be 30 years in the future, regardless of the age you're trying to live to be? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm like, I thoroughly explained these points in the video. Also, I ate nothing but ground beef for 3 years. But I don't use that as my logic behind a healthy diet to live past 100. That's kind of silly, right? Nowhere in my video did I tell anyone, like, I only ate freaking beef for 3 years. So, you'd be surprised how little food humans can get along with. In order to live to 100, you have to only eat beef. Like, that's almost what this person said in this comment. Just very weirdly kind of structured. Then another commenter replied to that person said, "You make no point. You could also just eat little food on a fatty meat diet. You cannot indefinitely go on beans and fruit because that's not a complete diet." And so, of course, I agree with the sentiment of this person. However, I don't know what basis we can even go upon to define what a complete diet actually is. You know, a lot of experts believe that, like, if you only ate meat, it's not a complete diet. Even though we have, like, people who live, like, I think the longest I've heard was, like, someone who lived, like, 38 years on a meat-only diet and had no, like, they actually reversed all their health problems at first. And there's actually documented cases, although they're scarce, of people that are hospitalized with blood tests drawn who lived like up to a year on meat only and did perfectly fine. But look, that's not even relevant. You know what I mean? Like, lean protein's fine. Beans, go for it. But if you just do like extra lean chicken and then you eat a lot of sweet potatoes or something, and I don't know, avocados, like, that to me that sounds good. To me, I think, even though your meat doesn't have to be fatty, and you don't have to be on a low carb diet or anything. And plant-based is such a subjective term too. It doesn't have like a clear medical definition. So let's see. Okay, so now I have a bunch of other interesting comments. All right, so I have another comment by someone named Lao EU. Okay. They said, "I don't believe one can micromanage their life in order to try and more effectively live past a certain point where one's body would be predisposed to old age and death." So yeah, I agree with that. Trying to micromanage your life in order to extend lifespan, that is something I'm kind of against. I would call that the nirvana of health syndrome. So trying to micromanage your life in order to like live as long as you can, that's some like Dave Asprey sell you a book type of shit, right? Like he has a book called Superhuman and all this stuff. Dave Asprey, his whole gimmick is like try to make you feel superhuman, try to make you feel bulletproof, and try to live to the age of like 180 or something like that. And he does that through his toxin-free coffee and $1,000 a month worth of mitochondrial boosting supplements and shit like that, and then a cyclic ketogenic diet or something. But my kind of guidelines are very simple. Avoid the common things that kill people before they're able to reach 100. Live a robust life. For me, my whole thing is like eat meat, eat fruit, whatever vegetables and other kind of extra things you want to eat that don't set off, autoimmune illness or digestive problems, beans, nuts and seeds, whatever if you want. Make sure you're getting sufficient nutrition for all of those things. Do strength training to strengthen your bones, strengthen your connective tissue, your knees, etc. Prevent aches and pains and reverse them if you do it properly. Get stronger, progressive overload, but keeping 2 reps in reserve or more. Do cardio, live your life, have a purpose, take tonic herbs, keep stress down. That's what I'm about. Nowhere in there do I say micromanage your life taking supplements. And my whole video was like, hey, here's the evidence on what kills people before the age of 100, and here's how you can prevent it. And it's like any kind of protocol that you use within the confines of the science is fine. Meaning, like, as long as you prevent bone mineral density from declining and you're hopefully building bone mineral density, you're staying metabolically healthy throughout your lifespan. You're building your strength and staying self-sufficient, building proprioception, functional movement patterns maybe, squats, single leg squats, deadlifts. Then it's like you're going to be fine, even if you think being plant-based is cool, as long as you're actually metabolizing and utilizing those nutrients, but still. Then the person said, I am 23 years old and fit. All I'm saying is I don't expect supplements to save me. All my health, in my opinion, stems from mental, if you truly want to live forever. Okay, look. Yes, I 100% agree with you. No one should expect supplements to really have a substantial impact on their lifespan. There's things like resveratrol, NMN. Look, I actually addressed that. That was one of the first things I said in the first 20 minutes of that video. Is a lot of these fancy supplements that people use, that like David Sinclair and whatnot, they're using drugs like metformin even. Those things are not likely to have a substantial benefit in humans. And we found with resveratrol, can actually have a substantially negative impact, okay, and can have the opposite effect in lower lifespan. And we see this time and time again with the research on antioxidant supplements and things like that, increasing cancer risk. So, yeah, like I never advocated supplements at all. I will say, I believe tonic herbs like a high quality ginseng prepared traditionally, and then whatever other tonic herbs work for your own energetic makeup, things like rhodiola, reishi, cordyceps. Some people do better with one or the other. Even if they don't improve your lifespan, they'll improve your quality of life for sure. Like cordyceps is amazing when you want to like really perform well and crush it, even if you're sleep deprived or whatever. Rhodiola people use for energy, for antidepressant benefits, for relaxation and anti-cortisol. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, there are herbs and things that help and that are documented to work in traditional kind of medicinal texts and things like that. But, yeah, I mean, the things I mentioned in this video, that's the whole reason I made that video, is because damn longevity gurus trying to sell you books and supplements. For longevity, you see people taking a whole 30 different freaking pills a day, and then doing caloric restriction and protein restriction, and not being able to exercise because they don't have enough calories to support, or protein to support their training. And they think the damn pills are going to help them. So I agree with you. To me that sounds extremely unhealthy. Mentally, emotionally, on a stress level. And if you look at all of them, I don't want to say anything personal, but let's just say they do not look physically robust to me, but looks can be deceiving, and maybe I'm wrong about everything. So then this person says that they believe all health stems from mentality, from becoming mental, or from your mental health. They think if you truly want to live forever, get your mind right first, and they say every angry thought, etc., is doing as much harm to your cells as a cigarette. And they said that's their opinion. So I actually really like this comment, because I agree. There actually is evidence to support the opinion that that positive thoughts and even the placebo effect may have a meaningful impact on improving lifespan. There's research, cohort studies that follow people actually through a period of time that showed something like on average a 7-year increase in lifespan just by having an optimistic attitude about aging compared to the other group. And those studies, are you really going to just magically live can we really say positive thinking caused you to live 7 years longer exclusively because of the positive thoughts? Not really. But there's evidence to support that, and it's better evidence than we have to support these damn longevity supplements or even plant-based diets for longevity. And so I think that's a good thing to consider. And if you watch a lot of the interviews of these older people, not all of them, surprisingly, but a lot of them have a very optimistic attitude. They say they never really thought about how long they're going to live or their health. They never worried. They always say, I take life one day at a time, and, stuff like that, Zen philosophy, whatever. And they seem relatively stress-free. Another thing, though, you'll notice is they had a period of time in their life, pretty commonly, that they went through that was very stressful. Some of them said they went through the Holocaust or something to that nature. Some of them said that they actually fought, like in Vietnam or World War One or something like that. Forgive me, I'm not a historian or whatever. But yeah, it's like they might have had a hormetic response to a stressful time in their life, where they're under a lot of stress from the circumstances, but then they might have supercompensated and upregulated their threshold of homeostatic load. Is that the word? Whatever. So yeah, I think that that's a good thing to consider. But a lot of them did have stressful periods of their life, but now in their older age, they're pretty nonchalant. Life, because they realize, life is way better and more peaceful now than it was back when they were children. Something a lot of people don't realize, don't appreciate, and take for granted. Everyone thinks, the world is getting worse. It's like, I don't think so. But anyway, so then I got another comment from someone named MH. Let me several comments. They said, simply follow what those that live beyond 100 have done. So I think that's valid, but the problem is we can watch videos of people that live past 100. We can listen to their interviews, but we don't know exactly what it is that they did that actually contributed to their longevity. So this person says, eating an organic, locally raised, animal product-based diet, he believes, or she believes, is what most people that live beyond 100 have done. So I like that they said animal-based just because so many people are biased towards plant-based. However, I would say most of these people ate a mixture that was, that varied at different times. And it was, 40 to 60% plant and 40 to 60% animal-based, okay, is what I would say. I don't think that it's accurate to say, they ate an animal-based diet. But they ate a lot more animals than most Blue Zone researchers and shit will have you believe. It really crazy. Most of the plant-based dogma around longevity is very biased and not accurate. But to say that they ate an animal-based diet isn't true either. It was half and half, kind of. And I like that. It's valid, it's accurate, and it's definitely, yeah. So anyway, so then they said, also don't oxidize your foods via cooking. In other words, eat raw meat dishes. Okay, so look. Including raw meat dishes in your diet does not offset the effects of lipid peroxidation from oxidative cooking methods. So if you eat 50% raw meat and then 50% cooked meat that was oxidized, you're still eating oxidized foods that have a significant impact on free radicals and your balance of antioxidants to reactive oxygen species. So just eating, it is true that a lot of, traditional cultures and, some of the supercentenarians that came out of them, that they ate a lot of raw meat dishes for sure, or raw animal dishes. However, the majority of them also cooked through highly oxidative methods. And humans for millions of years, from what I can see, burn the crap out of their food. They cooking over fire. Have you ever cooked a freaking chicken over a fire, or a dove, a bird, or have you cooked something over a fire before, over an open flame? It's virtually impossible not to freaking char it or burn it. Or maybe it's not impossible. Maybe it's just 'cause I suck at cooking. But I think this idea that we have to avoid oxidizing our food from cooking, I don't think it has as significant of an impact as people think. And the only science we have to support that is mechanistic studies. So I'm just saying. And I can tell you a lot of these Asian cultures that live a long time do a lot of frying. And a lot of it is in peanut oil or other oils that they use depending on the era of Asian cultures that we're talking about and the location exactly. So anyway, I know they're going to say lard and stuff like that, but look, just whatever. So yeah, I don't think this idea that eating organic and locally is essential. I don't think that that's necessarily accurate. I think if you can't afford it, that's fine, but I don't think it's necessary. I think what's important is again getting enough nutrition to support robust health into old age, getting enough protein and building blocks to sustain muscle tissue strength and bone mineral density as you age. I think that's what matters. Okay, I don't think it has to be organic or anything like that. There's really no evidence at all whatsoever that shows a causal relationship between whether it's grass finished, whether it's organic or locally raised. I would assume that it's much better, though, to get the best quality meat you can get. But a lot of people, they undereat protein and calories, which lowers their muscle tissue, lowers the amount of bone mineral density they can sustain. Because if you're in a net caloric deficit, your body's catabolizing by default. And you're actually hurting yourself by trying to eat organic and not eating enough of the building blocks you need that actually have been shown to promote long life, or at least to prevent you from dying before then. So I recommend people to just prioritize protein first and don't worry about the quality necessarily, as long as it's from whole, fresh animal foods. Of course, you get like the nutrition content of especially ruminant animals, conventionally raised, is not that much different than organic grass finished. So yeah, it's like how much of a benefit are you getting from like suffering from the side effects of malnourishment because you like insist on getting only organic pasture raised? You feel way better and have better health if you ate enough food, but you just allowed yourself to eat conventional beef. It's really not that big of a deal. Unless you're malnourished, then it's a big deal. Then they asked me, have I seen What I've Learned's video on balding? Relaxing and loosening your scalp muscles, most commonly done through Botox, has been observed to regrow men's hair. Hey, well, that's cool. And I'm subscribed to him, and I did see that in my feed. But I really don't care enough about whether I bald or not to actually watch it. So I think I opened that video. I watched like a minute of it. Then I closed it because I realized there's not really, I have better things to really focus on. So yeah, I personally focus on my personality, my energy, my happiness levels, my nutrition, how my nutrition supports those things, and then like my productivity in life. I don't really see my baldness as having any significant impact on my quality of life or anything at all. So I just don't care. And if anything, I have actually found the social status and all this other whatever, if anything, has gotten better. But that might just be because I'm so in love with life that it happens. I don't know. But yeah, I don't really care how bald I am. But I appreciate the comment, and that's an interesting fact or whatever. So then they said, I can't really afford meat. What protein powder do you recommend? And I asked them if they watched the video that they're commenting on, because in the video I said the most important thing is you eat enough protein to prevent bone mineral density loss and muscle loss. I don't think they replied yet. But basically, I would not recommend protein powder. Like that, because I'm assuming the type of meat that they're trying to eat is grass-finished, pasture-raised, okay? So if you have the option between eating enough meat but only eating conventionally raised lean chicken, or getting a friggin' grass-fed friggin' whey protein powder or something, which one do you think is going to provide you more nutrition and be healthier? I feel like anyone who says a freaking organic grass-fed protein powder is better for you than a conventionally raised lean chicken breast, I think is sadly mistaken. and their priorities are placed in a area that is not going to provide you with robust health or mood or energy. And you're probably not going to have as good of outcomes living a long life focusing on is it organic or not, or am I getting sufficiently nourished or not? Okay, I talk about this all the time. This is part of the nirvana of health syndrome. Next thing, they said, when you're in the wild, you're surrounded by God's creations. Yeah, I mean, God's creations, that's a weird, in my opinion, a weird term to use, and it's not something that is, I don't know, relevant in a scientific conversation. And I'm not saying God doesn't exist or whatever. It's also subjective as to what God actually is, depending on who's perceiving the comment. Then they said, when you're in the city, you're surrounded by man's creations. Okay, so this is sounding like a appeal to nature argument. Religions are man-made. It's like, okay. So religion, but it draws in those who want to get closer to God and traps them there with hallucination-induced fantasies. Okay, so I could reflect deeply and try to figure out what this person's trying to say with that comment, but I'm pretty sure it would be more effective to kind of, I don't know. This is just a comment that's kind of maybe more suited towards a completely different subject. But I will say, this is an interesting thing. When you're in the wild, you're supported by God's creations. When you're in the city, you're surrounded by man-made creations. Religions are man-made. Okay, so that almost is like an oxymoron. Okay, so they're saying when you're in the wild, you're supported by God's creations. When you're in the city, you're surrounded by man's creations, but religion is man-made. So basically what you're telling me is, the concept of God is a byproduct of religion. Religion is man-made, but somehow God's creations are different from man-made creations. But God is man-made, according to this comment. So it doesn't really actually make sense. And I have no clue, like that. I think that that's supposed to be like a appeal to nature. Like, oh, if it's natural, then eat it and you'll be healthy and live to 100. If it's man-made and you're in the city, then you'll die. I don't know. But anyway, look, I love all y'all's comments, even if I find them a little, not quite logically consistent. Appreciate everyone, and hopefully my answers have provided clarity. Talk to y'all next time.